Welcome to Joe Baker's Remedy Report, a show about bringing harmony to the world through economic innovations, health tips, and increased awareness. Using a tuning fork today, we're going to talk a little bit about kidneys and liver, and maybe we'll have a guest on who has had some kidney failure in the past. There are some things that can be done with a process called biofield tuning, where we take the tuning fork and work through the human biofield of a patient who's had kidney failure in the past or kidney damage at a certain time on one's timeline. And this can be um, restorative um, to clear it with the tuning fork. So I haven't done these shows much in a long time, so I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things, and we'll see where this picks up and goes to. Um, I'm happy I've got a new laptop, like the almost the best. I mean, I made some accommodations to try to get a better value, and but 64 gigabytes of RAM is like, wow. I mean, I've had a server that had 64 gigs of RAM, but it was some of the oldest RAM that you could imagine. I think it only was 200 megahertz or something. This stuff is just out of the park, fast, and it's got a gaming graphics system. I don't do gaming. I mean, about the only gaming I do is with life itself, and looking forward to doing all that. Let's see, is the microphone? Let me check the microphone, make sure that I'm getting good, solid meter readings. That looks good. I'm happy there. Let me test the speaker here. All right, so it's trying to play out to my headphones. Which is kind of different. You can do that, and that's working. So anyway, I've got that ability. I think I'd rather just do the speakers on the. Well, anyway, it's good. It's good. It can work. I'm going to take these out for now until I need them, and we'll see. We are recording, and we're live on several platforms. We're going live today on Facebook, on YouTube. We're on Twitch. The Twitter is not allowing us to go because I'm not a paid member on Twitter, so they've kind of changed that policy. So there you have it. What else has been going on? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are curious about what's going on in my life and all that. Working the beach job. I've applied for some for disability. And you may think, well, if you can work, why are you applying for disability? And it's all kind of complex, and things are changing even as we speak. There was a warrant out for me in Wisconsin for 16 years. It's interesting. I mean, I have a different perspective on this, a correct perspective, whereas everybody else is wrong. Naturally, take it as a joke, if you will, but it's not. A defendant has no right to bring themselves to court. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. A defendant has no duty to bring themselves to the court when the district attorney is coming against them with claims. And this has been shown in a Supreme Court decision, and not a lot of people know about this kind of thing. So it's the duty of the prosecutor to bring the defendant to court. So at least in these civil matters where or the government is bringing charges against a person. Might be a little different in some other regards, but and then they get you to sign these bail bond agreements, and of course I rescinded those, which means you can remove your signature from things in a process called rescission, and I did that. I charged them $1 million a day through all that time for using my name on a warrant. Little did I know that my name would actually become my own intellectual property through a process with the U.S. Patent Office. So now I've got to learn how to bring a lawsuit in the U.S. patent courts against Wisconsin for defaming my name. For using my name. It doesn't even matter that they defamed it. They used it knowing that I charge $1 million a day. So there you go. It's pretty much an open and shut case, I would think. But we'll see. They owe me something like $20 billion. And it was growing at $4 million a day. I've got to recalculate this stuff. They closed the case due to time. The district attorney's own motion was to close the case. So that's good. Let's see if we've got anybody chatting out there. Anybody watching today? So let's talk about some things that we should do in terms of preparation for biofield tuning, especially if we're going to work on your liver. Your liver excretes toxic bile, usually into your small intestines by way of the gallbladder. But due to the toxic nature of our existence, the amount of retinoic acid that accumulates and the densities of which it accumulates into the liver cause the liver to burn holes in itself. So there's another way that the toxic bile can get into your body, and that's directly into your bloodstream through these holes, and this can cause some symptoms like the flu. And in fact, that's what the flu is. It's toxic bile dumping into your bloodstream. And if you've ever felt miserable, you can blame your toxic bile and your liver, and nobody ever teaching you how to manage your toxic bile. It's a massive failure of the medical industry. In fact, it's more of a secret in the medical industry of how to manipulate your bile recipe to change to treat various symptoms in your life. That's kind of what the whole pharmacology type of thing is. So it's just ask yourself about what you know about bile and how it flows and how it gets reabsorbed and how you don't know any of this, how you've never been told. And you'll start to understand that there's this big black hole of knowledge that you just don't have much of a clue about. So what can really help? Soluble fiber like psyllium husk fiber. I'm going to type that into the chat. Psyllium, P-S-Y-L-L-I-U-M, husk fiber. Powder. put this in water, and then it mixes, and it turns to into like a gelatin-like substance, psyllium husk fiber, and it's great at binding to the toxic bile, and then helping to draw that all the way out. You know what I mean? And so that's something you might want to get in your diet. Also, some charcoal powder. Let's see, hardwood derived charcoal powder. And you put a little bit of this, the hardwood derived charcoal powder. That's not the word. You're not going to see the word derived in there. I'm just using it as a colloquial term of speech. You want it to be created from hardwood, so like oak. Probably bamboo is not the best choice. There's a lot of bamboo charcoal that's sold on the markets. There's more likely to be like mold and stuff like that was in the wood before it was turned to charcoal, and it might not be that they treat it hot enough to really fully kill off the mold products. So yeah, I would go with something like oak, probably a safer choice. But what I recommend, what I do is kind of different. I just take fish tank aquarium charcoal that you would buy at the pet supply store, and then I put it in the coffee grinder and spin it up and reduce it to a fine dust, a powder, and then I add a little bit of that in. And it's hard to say how much, but this is another thing about the charcoal's really good at managing the bile when you get too much bile. If you get a lot of diarrhea, you're getting too much bile. It's moving through your system, and the bile in the intestines helps. It is what moves the poop along. So like when you get worried or something like that, then you're pumping more bile from the liver, and it's kind of like putting water on the slide at the pool, and you slide down faster when the walls are lubricated, or when the slide is lubricated. And so this is when we start dealing with things like diarrhea and all that. So when we tune the biofield of your liver, there is this propensity to do what's called a bile dump, and the liver will squeeze a little bit, and it'll react, and it'll make these kind of flows, and maybe you're accustomed to diarrhea and that type of thing, but it's better if you learn to manage your bile with some soluble fiber, maybe some charcoal. The other nice thing about the interplay between soluble fiber of psyllium husk fiber and charcoal is that the psyllium husk fiber, I'll put that back on the screen, has a propensity to have some heavy metals in it, like lead, and I don't know if it's cadmium or copper, probably copper. And these are not good for you in your diet. So the charcoal will help to bind these in a way where you don't absorb them into your bloodstream. Probably not 100% perfect, but and then as a ratio, I put like one piece of just a tiny pinch of charcoal powder, and then maybe 10 or 15 times that size of psyllium husk fiber, not to exceed like probably not to exceed like a heaping teaspoon in size, and then mix that all up in water. I also add some, because the charcoal tends to slow down the bile, your bowels. I add a little bit of magnesium powder, and the magnesium powder I'm using right now is called magnesium carbonate. Magnesium carbonate, and then that too I'm using very sparingly in the mixture, a little, maybe 2 or 3 times as much as the charcoal that I have, and that way the charcoal doesn't slow me down. The magnesium carbonate is another thing that accelerates the bowels, and that way I don't get in a constipated kind of state. So it's kind of a nice blended sludge, and I get one of those. It's a drink mixer, and you put a couple batteries in it, and it's got a long rod that goes down, and then like a coil that spins in a circle, and you push the battery, and just blends all that up, and it takes quite a while for the psyllium husk fiber to permeate in through all the water to mix in, and it turns into a gelatinous substance. How you guys doing today? How are you doing? Welcome to Joe Baker's Remedy Report, and glad that you're all there. Sure beats the alternative. Well, health.forgivenesscapital.com is one of the sites you can turn to for getting an appointment with me, so forth. Sometimes you can even catch me in a live chat there. All right. Well, I think that's all I've got for right now. I'm going to bring this to a close here, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.